Okay, before I get into this video, I just have to address my little friend here on my left hand. I did a big slice-a-rooney of my finger and my nail. Last night when I was trying to make dinner, I was cutting an onion and just slipped right off the onion and slipped right into my finger, and it's been bandaged up and sought to. So if you see me talking with my hands a lot and you're like, what the hell is that on her finger? Now you know, it's just my little buddy, my little bandage buddy. Greetings, loved ones, and welcome back to my channel. Oh boy, have I missed you. I haven't uploaded a main channel video since September 2nd, and I'm filming this on September 30th, so it has been 4 weeks of no main channel uploads, which literally has not happened in the history of me having a YouTube channel. So thank you so much for being patient with me while we were going through all of this, which I'm going to talk about in this video. This video is going to be a story time, which I also haven't filmed a story time in multiple months, and I loved filming those back in the day. So I wanted to do a little story time moment for you guys today, just telling you our evacuation story, because if you did not know, I know that this has actually made international news, as many of my worldwide followers have reached out to me from all over the globe just to wish us well, which I really appreciate. We are safe, we are happy, we are home, and I just want to reflect on these past few weeks. But yeah, if you didn't know, there were some crazy wildfires that are still smoldering in certain areas, especially Southern Oregon. Please continue sending your thoughts and prayers to Southern Oregon, because their conditions down there are very different than where we are. Just climate wise, it is a lot more hot and dry, and they haven't been getting the amount of rain that I have in my area. So there were some various fires that happened in Oregon and all over the West Coast during this past month, and just, it normally happens over the summers. I mean, you know, climate change, she'd be crazy. So I did want to make this also just to be like, hey, if you don't believe in climate change, let me tell you a little tale and maybe I'll change your mind. But for real, my heart goes out to anybody who was affected by these fires in any way, shape, or form. Even if you just knew somebody who was involved in all of these things, I'm so sorry, and I fucking get it, dude. So we're gonna be going through all of it today. I just want to kind of give you guys a glimpse into the life of being evacuated during a wildfire. 1 million+ acres have burned as of today in Oregon, and the incident that I'm going to be talking about that was close to my home is the Riverside fire incident. Let's just go to where this all started, which was on September 7th, 2020. And that was actually the anniversary of Mac Miller's death. If you know me, you know Mac Miller was very close to my heart. He was my favorite artist. And on that day, I was just huddled up inside, like wearing my hoodie, you know, just completely covering my face, just like listening to his music and interviews, just crying a lot. I was just in my sadness zone. And I get a text that morning from my neighbor, Olya, who was my #1 queen. Absolutely iconic woman. She provided me with so much information through this, and my #1 theme in this is just be kind to your neighbors. I hope that they are good people around where you are, because I'm so grateful for my neighbors. Oh my gosh, just have to say that at the beginning, and I'll probably say it many times throughout this video. So September 7th, 10:51 a.m., I get a high wind weather warning screenshot from Olya, and this says that the east winds will be 20 to 30 miles per hour with gusts of 50 to 60 miles per hour expected. The fire concern was at the bottom, and what's funny is I didn't even read that part on this day. I didn't even acknowledge it. I was just like, high winds? Okay. And it says conditions will be favorable for rapid fire spread. Use extreme caution with potential ignition sources. So Olya sends me that screenshot, says just a heads up, we are securing things around the property that might fly away, but there's a chance it might be really bad, but medium will be windy too. They say this happens 2 times every 100 years or something like that. And I replied like, thank you so much, we'll secure some things down. But honestly, I wasn't very worried about it. And then I saw later that night, there was a fire at a local lumber mill in Molalla that was about 13 or so miles from where I live. And I was anxious as fuck. The winds that day, let me just put in a clip of the wind, because oh my god, I'm also so happy I documented so much of this experience. But yeah, so it was very windy. It spread fires to Molalla. I don't know where exactly that originated or how it started, but a local lumber mill was on fire that night, and I was like too anxious to sleep. The wind was so powerful, it knocked down our power lines, and we were out of power from about 11 p.m. to like 4 a.m. and I was just like in and out of anxious sleep. I had texted Olya at about 11:35 and I let her know the power was out, and I was like, I'm just checking the Facebook pages in our community and I found out about this fire. It's like 13 miles from us, but the wind is like 25 miles per hour right now. I'm a little anxious. Let me know when you get this. And she woke up the next morning at 4 a.m. and she texts me, good morning, sweet lady. Same, I hardly slept a wink, just getting up. We prepared our fire hose last night in case we need to spray down the house. That is how scary this all is. But good news is that winds may be dying down soon and that the winds are blowing east. I am praying for all the firefighters. There is another fire across 211 in the Unger and Bower area. And I was like, oh my God. So that's what I woke up to the next morning. I don't know what I thought. I just was completely naive in this situation. I have never had a situation like this happen to me before. It's a very wet climate and has been a very wet year in the past 2 years of us living here in Oregon. So like, I never really considered this to be a threat, which is so comical now looking back at all of the things that have happened, because like, this is such a case of climate change will affect everybody, okay? You will not be safe from certain things just because it's wetter where you are. You know what I mean? Like, I just, oof, okay, just had to say that. So I'm texting Olya like, oh boy, oh my God, I didn't know it was that close. That's about 7 miles away from me, that fire that was happening. And so I woke up the next morning and Finley and I were like, wow, the winds have really died down. Maybe the fire won't spread anymore and the incidents will be contained quickly. So when we're reading, having our morning coffee, Finley's about to go into work and he was like, I think I'm just gonna go into work today. It seems like everything's gonna be fine. He's doing renovations in town at the family I nanny for's house, on their guest house. And so he was only a few miles away in town. So I was like, okay, yeah, just like go off to work. And I was planning on editing a video that day, so I was gonna be working. And honestly, we just had no idea what was coming on the actual day. This was September 8th, which was our evacuation day. So at around, I don't know, 11 a.m., I was just trying to distract myself, honestly, from like the absolute panic and anxiety that was like riddling my mind. And so I was out in the garden, just like staking up my tomatoes again that had blown down from Monday's high winds. I was harvesting stuff and I see Olya and I'm like, hey, how's it going? And she says, honestly, I don't have a good feeling about this. And Olya is a very positive person like myself. And when she said that, I was like, oh no, okay. Olya doesn't have a good feeling. Like I was not feeling a good type of way. So we were talking about the Unger fire incident, which was closest to us. And we weren't even talking about the Riverside fire incident that was coming in more so from the East Mount Hood area to our area, which was also blazing at that time and day. I sent a photo to my family group message around 12 that was like, wow, it's so smoky here. And little did I know how bad it would fucking get, dude. So at around 12:30, 12:45, I actually started to get very panicky and was like, you know what? I just realized I don't have renter's insurance. So if my house burns down, I won't be able to get money for any of this. So I was like, shit. I FaceTimed my dad. I'm talking to him about my policy and getting it all sorted. If you don't have renter's insurance and you live in any area that could be affected by any large weather event, wind, tornadoes, hurricanes, fires, please get renter's insurance or homeowner's insurance if you're a homeowner. Just have to say that. I was so grateful to have that security and I'm so fucking happy I did that before we evacuated. And at around that same time after I secured the renter's insurance, I text Finley and I'm like, it's insane here. I just heard that Detroit Lake was on fire. So that was around Lyons and kind of middle of Oregon. And so the smoke was coming in from the south as well as the east, as well as the north. And it was just all packing in. And at 12:30, I texted Finley, should I pack a go bag? And he said, yes, maybe set our most important things out of the way so we could be gone in 5 minutes or less. Little did we know how long it would take. And so this is what I initially grabbed. I initially grabbed my personal fire safe document box, and I stuffed his stuff in there as well, just like, you know, the important docs. And then I got my work equipment, meaning like all of my editing stuff, my camera, all that kind of hoopla. And then I just packed like 2 outfits. I didn't know how long I would be gone. I was just like, you know, maybe a couple outfits in case we need to spend the night at somebody's house. And actually the night before, when I was sharing on Twitter and Instagram that I was super anxious about the fires, my friend Shay reached out to me and was like, if you need to evacuate, our house is open for you. And she lives in Oregon City, which is about 30 minutes north. So I was like, word. And I had that in the back of my mind all day. Like, I can go to Shay's if I need to leave. It's not that far away from our house. And after I texted Finley and realized that I needed to start kind of packing stuff because it was getting very smoky very quick and it started to pick up on the winds again, I was like, wait, how do I get the pigs evacuated if we need to leave? Because we don't have a horse trailer. How are we supposed to do that? And so I text Finley, and this is when the electricity started flickering in the house as well, so it was getting spooky up in here. And I text him, he says, we will do our best to bring them. If not, we will decide whether we want to set them free or not, so they at least have a chance to run and survive and not be stuck in their pen. And I just reply back this emoji, because that was not even an option for me. I was not going to set my pet pigs free. They are our pets. They are not for slaughter. So it's like your dogs, you know? I'm not just gonna like open the door and be like, have at it. See you when the fire's over, you know what I mean? But a lot of people where we live in farm country, they did that. They opened their gates for their horses, they let them run free, and a lot of them, now that things are safe, ended up coming back. But anywho's, Finley said, with the harnesses we have, maybe we'll be able to get them, but I can't muscle them into the car, I can't lift them at all. But don't stress about it, we will figure it out. There are options. And so I'm like, okay. So at around 2, he texts me and he says, I'm coming home. Dan and his family just decided to pack up and leave. So why am I gonna be still working when they're literally leaving, you know? So he comes back home at 2 p.m. The sky looks like this at 2. And when he comes inside, I have a couple things packed, but I'm like, oh my God, what do we do? And he was like, it's totally fine, but I just want to let you know, like, I think we need to take this very seriously and we need to start figuring out our evacuation plan. So he starts to get more stuff ready. He starts to get his valuables ready. He starts grabbing a bunch of other stuff. He looks at me and he is like, go save what you would want to save if our house burned down. And I was like, what? Because I hadn't been confronted with the question yet. I was just packing like a go bag, you know, nothing serious, just like maybe some things I would like to have. And so then I was like, oh my God, what do I even want? What are possessions and what does anything mean to me? And so I was just walking around the house being like, okay, I think I'll grab this. And I grabbed maybe like 4 or 5 more things. I don't know, man, like journals and stuff like that. I don't even remember what it was, but it was not much. And Finley was grabbing handfuls and armfuls of things and trying to stuff them into the back of our car. And after doing that, he came in and looked at me and was like, are you sure you don't want to grab more? Like, we have time. And I was like, oh, I just don't know. So from about 2 to 3, I was just kind of like pacing around being like, what do I get? What do I get? And Finley was grabbing all the stuff that he knew I would want because I was just too panicked to even think about it. So bless his heart for that. Bless his heart for many things. He was very cool, calm, and collected throughout most of this and was just thinking of all of the options, which I am so grateful for. Very grateful to be with a partner like that. So anyways, at around 3, the sky looks like this. And I was like, holy shit, when are we gonna even find out that we're being evacuated? I was checking our community Facebook pages. I'm like asking questions. I'm texting Olya, but she's trying to, you know, secure all of her belongings and her chickens and her bunnies and her loved ones, like all of that stuff. So I'm like, no use in bothering her with all of my trivial things. I just need to wait for the go. And so then at around 3:25, I would say. We've packed most of our stuff, and again, we haven't even considered the pigs at this point yet. We've just been like, you know, maybe throwing back and forth some options in our head. Finley looks at me and he's like, I'm gonna go behind the house and try to see if I can see where the fire is coming from. Try to see if I can see where the smoke is breaking up in the logging territory behind our house, which is just like thousands and thousands of acres of trees. And so he leaves the house and I'm like, oh my God, I gotta go to the pigs. I gotta go say goodbye to the pigs, I guess. And so guys, it was so fucking dramatic. I was out there being like, I guess we're leaving them behind because I don't know how the hell we're gonna get them out. So I like go out there and I'm like holding each hog under my arms, crying. And I was just like, just know I loved you, you know, like just in case they die. It was getting dark, my dudes. I grabbed like a handful of sunflower seeds and like threw it in their pen and was like, I loved you. And like run back up to the house and was just like crying. And then after that moment, I was getting even more anxious than before because I didn't know when or how we were going to be evacuated. I'm like, are they gonna call me? Are they gonna come to my door? Like, I don't know how this works. And so I call Finley at like 3:30 something and it doesn't go through. And literally as soon as I pick up the phone, police sirens bolt up my hill. Police cars come. Finley doesn't answer the phone, but he comes running back into the house and he's like, a police officer just came up and told me to leave. So we got the evacuation notice. We got the go. We're in the level 3 red zone. Get the fuck out. And I was like, and literally just immediately broke down crying. I'm only smiling right now because like looking back on the situation, there was so many emotions. Sometimes you just gotta laugh, you know? So I break down crying and I just look at him and I'm like, I am not fucking leaving the pigs, okay? And he just looks at me and is like, all right, I'll figure out a way. And then he just like runs outside, and meanwhile I'm just grabbing all of our stuff, loading it into the car, getting the dogs into the car, trying to figure out where to take our pigs. We're like, okay, we're going to Shays. I know that we can go to Shays as 2 humans with our dogs, but also where are we gonna put the pigs? And so I send out like an SOS basically on Twitter and Instagram trying to find a place for my pigs. And so I get a message from my friend Katie who lives out towards St. Paul, Newburgh area. She's a subscriber of mine. I've met her before and she reached out to me and she said, you can bring them to my parents' farm. And I just saw that and I was like, all right, we're bringing them to the farm. But I didn't really read too much of the message she sent me, but now looking back at that message, I think she said something along the lines of like, I don't have stall space for them tonight, so they're gonna have to stay in the truck. But I didn't even process that. So there was just a lot of emotions happening. I just saw you can bring them here and I was like, box checked, that's where they're going. Meanwhile, Finley has his power tools in the pig pen, building a little makeshift 3-sided pen situation to the back of his truck because he has wooden sides on his truck bed. So thankfully we could like drill in screws and everything like that. I'm saying we, like I did any of that work. I did not. I was just trying to figure out where to go. And meanwhile, outside the sky is turning red, my dudes. This is what the sky looked like at 4 p.m. while we were trying to evacuate, get all of the hog stuff set up. So Finley makes a 3-sided situation onto the back of our truck. I'll put a photo or a video of it or something on the screen. Bless his friggin' heart, okay? He does that, and I get into the pig pen. I start throwing in hay bales and filling up the back of the truck bed with hay. And then we just made a kind of makeshift plywood ramp that went up to his lifted truck. So it was a high climb for those fatty ladies. Our girls are overweight pigs. It's just a fact. That's why I call them my fatty ladies. They were hard to load in, but by some amazing force of nature and those pigs' sheer force of will, they loaded into the truck. Finley basically got behind the 2 pigs' butts one by one and was like pushing them up the ramp, and I was in the truck bed with a little, you know, plate of food like, come on, come on, come on, and just making them smell it. And like the food initiative made them walk up the ramp. But pigs are notoriously scared of heights. They don't like to be picked up. I couldn't pick them up. If I even tried, it would have been hard to do an airlift. So we just had to do the ramp situation. They loaded in probably around 10 minutes or so by us doing the food initiative and Finley pushing up their big butts from behind like, It was just crazy, my dude. So I just, honestly, what that experience taught me is like, we could probably do that again, but the pigs now know what the truck bed is like, and they know that they're gonna be moving around. They don't like to be moved around. They've never been moved around out of their pen, but I was not gonna leave those girls behind if my house burned down. Like, fuck no. And I was not gonna set them free either. A lot of our friends here had to leave animals behind. Our friend Athena couldn't load 2 of her pigs because they were too heavy to load. They like refused to load. Also, this should be noted, I could have taken them to the fairgrounds, the Canby Fairgrounds or the Salem Fairgrounds, but both of those places were so full with farm intakes that it was just like, I didn't even want to deal with it, you know? Like, I wanted them to be close to where we were, and I didn't want to have to go back every single day to feed them. So those were things that in the grand scheme of things, I'm actually happy that I didn't go to a fairgrounds place, because our friend Athena went there with all of her animals. I'm talking goats, cows, pigs, the whole 9 yards. But the fairgrounds also weren't taking birds. So my neighbor Olya had to leave all of her chickens behind because birds just weren't allowed. They're not as expensive as other farm animals like horses. They're just not as high of value. So they weren't taking in all of the chickens. They also probably didn't want to deal with them, you know, flying out of their coops and all of the makeshift pen areas. It was just madness. And so that's why I reached out to my follower base instead to find an area for them. So then at around 4 something, we get everybody in the car. I turned the sprinklers on our house, like moved them right to the base of our house. I turned the hose on and left it on my front porch to wet down my whole front garden area, and everything else we just left behind. And I texted Shay literally as soon as we were pulling out of the driveway, hey, that offer still stand for us to stay at your house? Cause we were evacuated. And thank frick, she replied yes. So bless her heart for that. But first we had to get the pigs to safety, right? Finley and I drove in our separate cars, him having the truck with the hogs in it and the whole back seat packed with shit. And I had the Lexus with our 2 dogs and then the rest of our shit. We drive out to St. Paul and we get there and Katie and her sister come to meet us and they're like, yeah, so we don't have a stall space for them right now. We'll have to like move my sister's sheep out to let them in, but we probably can't do that until tomorrow. And when we were pulling into their driveway, I saw a billow of smoke just a few miles away, and I was like, oh my god, you know, they could also not be safe here, which was something Rue just broke in to my room up here, which was also something that I did not consider in the area of St. Paul. Like maybe they could also be evacuated soon. I don't know. The fire was spreading so fucking fast, dude. And so when we get there, Finley and I basically just decided like, well, if they're gonna have to stay in the truck bed tonight, why don't we just bring them with us to Shay's and they can sit and sleep in the truck bed until we can find another situation for them. Because at least then we'll be able to go out and like feed them and water them from the side of the road and we can park in front of Shay's house. And so then we were like, all right, thank you so much, Katie and her sister, and then got back on the road and drove to Oregon City. And then we spent the night there at Shay's, and the hogs we just parked on the side of the road, and Shay made this makeshift sign that was like to put on the side of our truck bed in case anybody heard any hog noises on the side of the road in Oregon City. And it said, "Don't be scared, we are nice pigs. If you have any issues with us, please call." And then it was like our phone numbers, and we just like shoved it onto the side of their makeshift truck bed pen, and we were just like hoping for the best that no neighbors were like, what the hell? It also in there was like, please don't call the police, call here. And even in Oregon City, my dudes, it was still so smoky, and the sky was like orange there as well, because it wasn't far off from where we were, you know, but it wasn't as bad as where we were. But the Unger fire was still blazing at this time, so that was still happening, as well as the Riverside fire, as well as the South fire. So all of those were still all very, very real threats. And the Unger fire incident was not too far off from Beaver Creek, which is like on the way to Oregon City. So when that was all happening, we were like, well, fuck, Oregon City could also be evacuated. This is not a permanent place for us, you know? And we were just trying to like kind of chill out at Shay's. We were like drinking beers with them and trying to like recollect our thoughts and everything. But also at the same time, we were thinking like, we can't stay here as well, because what if Shay has to leave? Then what are we gonna do, you know? And also we needed to get the hogs out of the truck bed. So I was still looking for options. And the next morning on Wednesday the 9th, we start posting on Finley's account as well, asking for people to DM him if we can stay there. And we were just like honestly sure that we were going to lose our house that morning. We were like, well, the incident's only gotten worse and more out of control overnight. Like, we tried to go to bed on the couch and everything and just kind of like forget about it. But as soon as I woke up, my body would just go numb. Like, I would just be numb in feeling like, well, something's gonna happen today. But oh my God, like I was not prepared for this kind of an event, emotionally, physically, any of it, but somehow we're okay. Anyways, when we wake up in the morning, we're posting on Finley's Instagram, trying to find other resources. And long story short, I just went onto my Patreon and I saw some messages on there from people who were either wishing me well or whatever. And then I see one message from this girl, Summer, which is so funny because I was actually going to meet up with Summer that weekend. Like that same weekend of when we were evacuated, I was supposed to meet up, me, Finley, and then her and her partner, Chris, and we were going to have a social distance picnic in the park because she lives kind of in the same area as my best friend Annalie up here. She lives in Northeast Portland. And Annalie, the reason we didn't evacuate to her house or try to go there is because she lives with 3 roommates and they don't have a yard that is like set for the pigs. It just wouldn't have worked out, you know? So I see a DM from Summer and she said to me, please let me know if you need a place to stay during evacuation. We have a guest room. And for some reason, I was just like, fuck yes. This is it. This is the one. I go to her Instagram and I started DMing her on there and I'm like, hi Summer, I saw your Patreon message. Can we come over? Do you have a place for the pigs? Like, I'm trying to figure out that part. And she was like, yeah, we have a big yard. She sent me videos of her yard. She was like, this is the situation that we have. We have a shed in the backyard as well, so they could have like some cover in case it rains or they want to go inside somewhere away from the smoke or anything. Like, she was just so helpful. She was my saving freaking grace. So I see that and I'm like, we are going there. And once we got that sorted and we knew where we were going to go, we were like, all right, well, our house is surely going to burn down. That's what we kept telling ourselves. So let's go to the house and see if we can save more stuff before it goes. So we go back to the house and I'll put some photos on the screen of what it looked like after we were done loading the car with even more stuff to bring. And when I'm talking even more stuff, I'm talking like every single gift I've ever gotten that was like decor or meaningful to me. Photos, old writing, little cards and messages that we've written to each other over the years, our favorite books, our instruments, what else? You know, just anything that we could fit in the car, projects that we did not want to abandon. Finley grabbed like multiple bags of mushroom mycelium because he grows medicinal mushrooms and he didn't want to lose all of that. We grabbed like our extracts, like my calendula oil and his lion's mane and oyster mushroom extracts, and we just like loaded all of it into the car. We got the dogs' beds, we got their toys and their favorite blankets, and just anything that we thought that we would need if our house burned down. And I encourage you to at least have like a list in the back of your mind of what that would be for you, because it's a very interesting question to think about. Like, what would I save in a fire? You know what I mean? Anyways, I was like really doing a lot of detachment exercises and like, you know, once we saved all of the stuff that we wanted to take with us, I stood in the house and I was like, just saying my goodbyes. I was like, thank you so much for everything that you've offered us in this space, but at least I know that like my family and I are gonna be okay, my animals are okay, and if everything goes to shit, at least I'll have most of the stuff that I really love from this home. And so then I just completely detached from the house altogether. So when it was actually safe in the end, I came back like, well, a house. I have this, you know, which is crazy. Anyways, back to the story. That whole day was very back and forth. I was like back at Shay's after that and had Finley go out to get us food because I kept forgetting to eat and feed myself because I was so all over the place. Me and my neighbor Olya were bonding about this because she had evacuated. Her story is even fucking crazier. I just have to quickly digress and stop talking about us for a second and talk about Olya and John because they were truly superheroes in this situation, and I am just so happy to call them friends and neighbors, and they're just absolute icons. So our neighbor John owns an excavation business and he has tons of tools, and they have a 40-acre property next to us that they have been, you know, doing permaculture on. And so they decided to stay back, and when they were being evacuated, apparently a sheriff came to their house 2 separate times and was like, y'all are crazy, you really need to leave, you need to get out, like this is an immediate threat to you and you're in danger, you know? And they were like, we're not leaving, like we're gonna stay here. And granted, they're not just staying there to like stand on their porch and be like, you fire, get away from my property, you know what I mean? Like John had a water truck, he had a fire hose, he had huge bulldozers and other equipment to draw fire lines around the property. Like he was ready to take this on. Honestly, Olya told me a couple days later when I saw her when I was back at the house mid-evacuation and like harvesting our garden, she told me that he was almost having too much fun. Like he enjoys being able to be of service. So, long story short, the sheriff spray painted a big number 2 at the end of their driveway, which I'll put a photo of here, meaning there are 2 people in this house. So when their house burns down, please go back and try to save the 2 people. And he told them after he did that, he was like, all right, do you guys have dog tags that you can wear? If not, write your social security number on your body so we can easily identify you. Meaning like, you're gonna die, so just make it easier for us in the cleanup process to figure out who you were. So honestly, I was getting most of my updates periodically from our house and what was going on around our land and behind our house where the fires were blazing from Olya and John. So long story short, Olya gets her bunnies and she had to leave the chickens behind and she evacuated to like Damascus, but her partner John stayed behind and he was fire hose watering down our property, our neighbors' properties. I'm gonna put a video on the screen that Olya shared on her Facebook. I was using her Facebook and just Facebook in general as such a resource for information during this time, which had its ups and downs for sure with, you know, just various information circulating around by word of mouth online. But at least I had the information coming to me from my neighbors as well. And so John was staying at their property right next to us, working alongside our other neighbor across the street, Wayne. And Wayne used to be a firefighter. He is an ex-firefighter, so they were working together, and Olya just kept reassuring me throughout the process, like, they are okay. I know that they're being held in safety. I know that in my heart, like, I'm getting updates from him, and if they need to get the frig out, Wayne is going to let him know that it's not safe to be there anymore. But Wayne also stayed behind to defend the land, which is just like, honestly, heroic shit. Like, I can never repay them enough. I'm trying to thank them like every time I see them, and they're honestly like, we don't need it, you know, like humble kings. Anyways, they did so much work around here with not only the first responders, but just local folks. They were like driving around with their heavy equipment and drawing fire lines and putting out hot spots. And it was such hands-on work for them because it had to be. When you're in a small town like where I live, where the population is like 2,000 or so, we have a fire station, but we don't have a police department, and the resources were allocated elsewhere. There were huge fires blazing also in our sister town of Estacada, as well as our sister town of Malala. And so the fire resources were just divvied up everywhere. And not to mention, fires were blazing in Central Oregon, as well as Southern Oregon. Like, people were just they didn't know what the hell to do, you know? And so that's why the local people came through. And I'm actually gonna link some really crazy articles down below for what happened in Malala, because I think it was on Friday night. I know the story is kind of scattered and I'm on a separate tangent now, but on Friday night, there was word that the Riverside fire was going to be combining with the fire in Staten, and they could like change weather patterns completely. And so pretty much all fire resources were pulled out. All first responders were pulled out. And that night, Malala was going to be directly affected and burned on this specific road. And so a group of like 40 local folks, and you can read the article about this, it's freaking crazy. Please, I'll link it down below. They all went and just rallied together. I'm talking trucks, bulldozers, men with their fire hoses, just like, all right, let's put this shit out. And they saved the freaking area. Like, insane, insane. All of these people are folks who are like, I don't want any praise for this. I just did what needed to be done. And that is exactly the attitude that my neighbors have around here when I thank them. They're like, I just did what I needed to do. And I'm like, you're a king. Love you so much for it, you know? Anyways, I'm very scatterbrained right now, but again, thank you to freaking everybody who saved our area, because what was happening on those nights and that day specifically when we were going to Summer and Chris's was the fire started blazing in a different area behind our house 3 miles back as far as the crow flies. So 3 aerial miles back. And I was watching those fire maps, just like, oh my God, refreshing them like every hour, refreshing the Facebook page, doing check-ins with my family and friends, but like my brain was mush, you know? I just, whew. It was so scary. On September 9th, we moved the pigs to Portland, and freaking bless her heart, Summer sent me videos that she took. I was barely documenting stuff. I was taking pictures a lot, but I wasn't like documenting it on my camera here for you guys. But Summer got some videos of the pigs unloading at their house in Portland, and we got them into the shed and a makeshift pen in the backyard. They were content there for sure, but pigs, our pigs specifically, are escape artists. So they escaped the pen 2 separate times into the 2 neighboring yards, but thankfully most like city yards are fenced, so they ended up being fine, but they just were smelling so many smells, so many like gardens and fruit trees in people's yards, and they just wanted to go and check on them. But again, I just have to say a huge freaking thank you to Summer and Chris. Thank you does not even do it justice for housing my partner Finley and I, as well as our 2 dogs and our 2 hogs. Like, that is a feat right there. They fed us, they provided us with good company and games of Catan and distraction from just the terror of the world. And it honestly was so ideal because, like I said, we were going to meet up with them anyways to like get to know them, but this situation helped us get to know their spirits so much more. And I just feel like it just brought us so much closer, and it just felt like a never-ending sleepover, you know? So I feel like we really lucked out with where we ended up during evacuation, because I just felt so safe there. Like, their home was just so beautiful, and like our conversations were just so nourishing and educational and great, and like I just love those folks so much. So if you're watching this, love you guys, even though I've already said it like 100 times in person. Anyways, we stayed with them from the 9th until the next Tuesday, which was the 15th. So almost a week, basically a week. And the reason why we left on the 15th was not to go back home. It was to go to Montana with my family, because every year, if you guys watch my vlogs, you definitely know this, but every year we have like an early Thanksgiving with my family so that we don't have to do a Thanksgiving flight and a Christmas flight cross country multiple times. So we do like a West Coast meetup for an early Thanksgiving. And this year we decided to do it on Whitefish Lake in Montana, and we have had this trip planned for months. So when this trip started creeping up mid-evacuation for us, Philly and I were having conversations like, should we just stay here or should we not? And we were like, we need this. We need a little mid-evacuation vacation, baby. And I actually just uploaded a vlog from that time of like our last 3 or so days in Montana with my family. So if you want to check in with my family and see how everybody's doing, the link's gonna be on the screen, baby. It was so nourishing and great, and I'm so so grateful that we got to have that time away, and that Summer and Chris watched the hogs while we were out of town. Just, oh, love them so much. And we paid them for this, by the way. Don't just think that I was like taking and not giving things back. You know, I could never repay them enough, honestly. Anyways, my dudes, we were there from the 15th until the 23rd, and then we came back to our house finally on the night of the 23rd. And I haven't uploaded it yet when I'm filming this video, but I'm going to be editing and uploading a vlog of like our fire cleanup and like post-evacuation. And so it was safe for us to go home on the Monday of that week. So I guess the 21st was when we were decreased back to level 1 evacuation, which means just green zone rather than the red zone, which we had been in for about 2 weeks. And separate parts like Malala and other certain areas in Estacada were decreased back down to a level 1 so much sooner than my specific area and my specific street, because we still had those fires blazing behind our house, and parts of the Unger fire were still blazing for a pretty long time, which has now been completely controlled. We got huge dumps of rain on that Monday the 21st, and I think that that's what kind of like made it all more okay. Not to say that everything is totally fine and dandy here in Oregon. Again, 1 million+ acres have been burned, and that amount of land lost and trees and life and houses and everything lost is just insane. So I will be linking some resources down below for you guys if you want to donate to certain causes. Again, please continue to send your thoughts and prayers to the Alameda fires that are happening in Southern Oregon. It's really crazy. The whole entire town of Talent, Oregon is like gone. It's insane. I'm definitely gonna link some like resources down below of just like photos for you guys to see the aftermath and hear these people's stories. And in my next vlog that I'm going to be uploading of our fire cleanup post-evacuation state and getting our lives back together, Finley and I actually drove through the Unger fires like burn zone and showed you guys what happened. I also showed it on my Instagram story. I have a fire highlight on my profile if you guys want to see like the progression of the days in chronological order. Also, I just want to say that we did lose one house in my town, and the family has a newborn baby, and they have so many clothing donations and everything set, and food donations. Everything is fine. The lady I buy milk from, actually, the milk room that I go in to buy milk for Finley in is like filled with donations. So they're set on that stuff, but they do need money to be able to rebuild their home. So if you guys would like to donate to that cause, I'm going to link it down below, as well as a donation resource for the woman Lisa, who owns a favorite local bakery of mine. I've been trying to do anything I can to help her as well, because she lost her home as well as her greenhouse. Damn guys, I'm talking so much, my camera just died on me. Oops, this is going to be a long one, so thank you to anybody who has stayed watching it until right now. But back to what I was saying, I really have just been thinking since all of this has happened and since we've been able to come back to our home, many families are not able to do that right now. So I've just been really thinking, in the grand scheme of things, what more can I do to help? I think sharing this resource and sharing this information is huge, but also at the same time, I really encourage you guys to think about what can you do to help? Can you donate to these families who have lost everything? Can you send your love and prayers and affection and light and all of the things to these people who are being still directly affected by this, or the implications of what has happened from having their homes and their lives freaking upturned? Just whatever you can do to help right now, I really encourage you to do so. I know that this has been a very, very crazy year, but honestly, my dudes, this situation has really put things into perspective for me and really just given me like a whole new lust for life in an odd way. I'm really, really grateful to be in the space that I'm in right now, because I feel like life is just so good. Like, it's just so fucking good to be alive, man. And even though it's a crazy year and so many things are happening, like, at least we're still here. At least we're still breathing. At least I still have a home. At least my family is okay. At least my animals are okay. And with those things, I am good, you know? And like, all of the other things, the material possessions, none of that even freaking matters as long as we are okay, you know? And aside from that, I've just been really on a high since getting back home, just just a life high. Being so grateful to be able to do what I do, being so grateful to be able to get back to work. I'm so happy to be able to be producing content for you guys again, because like I said at the beginning, I haven't taken a break as long as this in so long. So now I'm back streaming on Twitch every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific time, baby. I'm gonna be uploading more content for my Patreon this month. I'm gonna be uploading more videos this month. I already uploaded a vlog and another one is going to be coming. Like, things are in the works, my dudes, so don't worry about a friggin' thing. Things are looking up. The pigs are now back home with us, and you guys will see that in the next vlog. Life is just so good, and I'm just so grateful to have the people around me that I do, and the many, many, many strangers who either sent me love and prayers during this time or directly helped me. Katie, Shay, Chris and Summer, Frank, who helped me bring my pigs back home in his horse trailer so they didn't have to go back up the ramp again. Like, so many people just came out to come through and help us. And I am so grateful. I can't say it enough to be alive, live the life that I do, and know all of these amazing people. Because one thing that this event has taught me is that, you know, people are good. Sure, there are bad people in the world, but people are generally good. And I really encourage you to hold those people who have done good things for you in the past, or who you know just have that good energy, baby. Just keep them close, because those people matter most, and they will help you when shit like this hits the fan and you're like, what do I do? Where do I go? My main summary of all of this, I guess, is just hold your loved ones close, be nice to strangers, wave at folks on the street, give people a smile when you go out on the town. You never know what they've been through. And I love you. Thank you so much for just holding space in your heart for me over this past month, and for my family and my animals and everybody, and just, I love you guys a lot. So anyways, I know this was a long one. Comment down below if you watched the whole thing. Comment if you're reading this. I hope you have a great day. Rue just tried to come up here and fell off of the step stool. So I'm gonna end this off here. If you enjoyed this, please give this video a big thumbs up for me. Subscribe to my channel if you're not already. Ring the notifications bell if you'd like to be notified when I upload. You can become a patron of mine if you want to support my earnings for this month and just see more from me. That is the #1 way that you guys can support me during this time, because I have taken an entire month off of uploading. So I would appreciate it, and thank you to all of my patrons who are already there so far. And yeah, I stream on Twitch if you want to ever watch me play Animal Crossing, and I'm gonna end this off now. I love you. Stay smiling. Goodbye.